What's up, ladies and gentlemen? You are watching lolcowrewind. Rewind. I'm your host, Billy the Fridge, and we got some breaking news for you this evening. As you can see by the infographic, Lolcow Madhouse has been canceled. There has been an extreme shakeup. I do believe that there is a hunt right now for 2 to 3 new hosts to replace the Madhouse show. This is going to be a completely new show. We're looking for 2 to 3 new hosts in the network to take over the channel. And beyond that, Batgirl is going to be the new host of Cafe alongside Ken, because Beans is joining Roxy as the new host of Milkers. Things are moving here in the LCU. It's a constant battle. Bunny Button says, "Lol, suck it, Tech." Got him. Got him. Damn. So, as some people may have heard last night on Rewind, a lot of people were wondering why we didn't talk too much about what happened on Madhouse at the end of Madhouse. Well, Madhouse ended abruptly. There was a caller that called in and made some lies up about Fat Camp. They were a supporter of former LCU host that was publicly said to have done some things at Fat Camp. Xylee and I saw her doing some things that we brought up because she was, I don't know, coming after Xylee and saying some other things. It's in the past, neither here nor there. But this particular person was accusing Brantley of things, and these accusations were completely wrong. They were lies. They were put up on Madhouse from a call-in that was outside of the Discord server. It wasn't a Discord call-in. It was a call-in from a phone number that I believe Jaffe had on the screen for people to call in. It was like a hotline number, so it was an unsanctioned hotline number. We have Bunny Button in the chat right now claiming Sassy Fetus was not fired. She will be the new host of Queens. That's interesting. Sassy Fetus is actually Voldemort number 4 now. So the hotline number was allowing people to call in without any vetting process, and this person called in, made accusations that were lies against Brantley, and instead of the accusations being denied and turned down, they were entertained. And when they were entertained, it made Keemstar angry, and he called in and on air said he was canceling Madhouse. And in the LCU, things can change. So Xylee and I, last night when we did Rewind, we didn't really want to comment too deeply on things because, Xylee's a longtime friend of Bunny Buttons. I'm a fan of Madhouse. I like Jaffe Tech Protect Bunny Buttons. I went and met them just last week in California. I like what they do over there, and I wanted to see them succeed. So I didn't want to make any comments on what happened because who knows? Maybe things would be better today. Maybe they'd find a resolution and it'd be back to normal. That was last night. Xylee and I did our thing. Rewind was fun. It was a calm, chill stream.
So you heard it here, folks, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. We are witnessing. I don't know what I'm saying. So yeah, so this was all from, most of the stuff is from Sunday. It's not really a lot to cover. Mostly, some of it is I guess obviously Billy the Frizz, good old Billy sweeping. But first thing first. So yeah, you heard it. So Batgirl is going to be the new host for Cafe, and I guess Beans is going on Milkers. It's a weird dynamic. Now, I don't know how I feel about it because on one hand, I don't know, because no offense to Batgirl, I don't see anything in her. Like, I just don't. Maybe I haven't seen enough of the time she's on Cafe or the other time she's been on stream, but she doesn't even seem like a bad girl. She seems like a nice girl, whatever her past is, whatever. But I don't see it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe she'll be great for Ben, which is funny because I always thought like the whole thing was, the Ben and Ken through and through. Maybe that would change first thing in the morning. Probably, hopefully, when this is uploaded, maybe that's not the case, but it probably is. And then Beans going to Milker seems so offhand. I'm not sure if she can. It's not a question if she can handle it. It's a question of can she keep the energy that Savage had. There's something about Milker under Savage's wing that was distinctly different, or not really different, but something that. How can I say? Something that it fit the rest of the other shows, even though it went kind of extreme sometimes. And I'm not sure if Beans can handle it. I'm not even sure if Beans can even handle the competition against Queens, right? I don't know why they would do a change like that. Again, I'm not saying, Bean wouldn't be a bad host, right? I think in a way she kind of proves herself, but like I'm not the only one who feels that her edginess is a little try hard. I'm not saying there's nothing wrong being edgy, but I feel like there needs to be a sense of being sincere. And I'm not sure if she can even handle Milker, especially with Roxy. I could be wrong. Maybe I am wrong completely. Maybe we'll see something out of it. Right? Right?
Supposed to do. I don't know, dude. That's my opinion. 18 Miss Mechanical says Jeffy has his own thing. I love Madhouse too, but I don't think he cared about the LCU as in the co-workers on the other shows. Oh, he didn't. Jeffy 100% is he's a passionate man, and he's got his passions. He wants to see Madhouse thrive, and wherever he goes, maybe it will. Maybe it will. Maybe it will. Jessica Pizzle says this just sets a precedent that you can't talk about people in the LCU in a sexual way, and that's going to hurt Tina the most, as she says the most vile sexual stuff about people. No. You can talk about people in the LCU in a sexual way to an extent, right? You've never been able to really talk about people in a sexual way. You haven't been able to just lie about people, okay? You haven't been able to be like, oh, at fat camp, Billy had his dick out, and he was rubbing his dick all over the cheeseburgers. You know that, right? Yeah, he was fucking the cheeseburgers, right? Yeah, and then Boogie came over and started licking them. You know that, right? You either can or you can't. Look, you can do whatever the fuck you want. You can do whatever the fuck. Everything's a double standard. Everything's a double standard. It's stupid to think that there aren't layers to this shit. It's dumb as hell to think that Keem's not going to care more about Brantley than he is about fucking CD-ROM, right? People are fucking with CD-ROM all the time at 4 a.m. about his virginity. I can't believe you guys outed me for my peen burgers. That person called in and tried to make baseless accusations about Brantley to cover up a story that was outed on Rewind about an ex-host of Lolcow Milkers. And instead of that being deaded in its tracks, it was entertained. And it pissed Keemstar off. It's that simple. And now, we're down one of the more interesting shows in the network.
Couldn't find this exact clip, but I think this is still good enough clip. Yeah, so probably before this, a lot of people were saying that Billy was sweeping for Keem. And he was, let's be real, he was sweeping, but he has to, right? I know I've called him a sweeper, other people have called him a sweeper. At the same time, you have to understand that this is a paycheck, right? He has to do what he has to do, right? And I think it's kind of getting to him where people, calling him out as a sweeper. I don't even think this is even the first time. I think there was a clip that I forgot to grab actually. There was a clip I think in one of the Reddits, right, where it was Billy shutting down the chat completely for members only. And we're seeing Billy kind of like not necessarily crash out, but kind of get to that point where anytime anybody question him, they more or less feel like he's sweeping. let's not deny he did sweep for one buff-weed. Now he is sweeping for Keem, and you know I don't agree with him sweeping, but I understand, right, that he has to do it, right? It's his job in a way, right? It is the host's job to occasionally sweep for Keem, and it just happened to be Billy. And you could kind of tell, they said, that it's getting to him just little by little. People calling him a sweeper. Maybe he's not used to that level of pushback compared to, let's say, other hosts who are used to that kind of level of pushback. Is he actually going to crash out eventually? He probably will, because it is getting kind of excessive at this point. Obviously, because he's protecting Keem's position. Obviously, he doesn't need to, but he has to, right? There's a difference between needing to and having to, right? Well, no, I think that's a little wrong. I think that's wrong. It's not that he have to; it's that he needs to. There you go. I said it backward. He needs to protect Brantley, or not even necessarily protect Brantley, but he needs to sweep for Keem. Because let's be real, Rewind in this job particularly has probably been the best thing in his whole career, where he's getting stable income. Right, he's around people that are generally friendly with him, especially with Xylee. And we'll get into a little bit what happened in Rewind today, right? And I will call him Al Sweeper. I'll criticize him for that, but I also understand that he needs to do it. But we will eventually see him crash out.
Rastov, what did you immediately do upon hearing that Madhouse was cancelled? I jerked it. Yeah, you
jerked it. And it's a bad idea if you're a content creator, ask Destiny, for people to film you sucking and fucking and doing all of this shit. It's a bad idea. That's the reason I don't make a sex tape with Desi. That also, and I don't think I could watch it without vomiting. Plus, if I ever crush her to death, then it's evidence, right? So it's about, how am I in trouble? What am I doing wrong?
Well, you're misrepresenting everything. I put out multiple different posts and statements on our announcements, which you could refer to, but
okay, I'll refer to those then.
I guess you're just deciding to make up whatever happened here. There's a person in chat, his name is Cap D Mac, who keeps saying that Keemstar made a crazy overreaction. Feel free to call in, bud. I don't think you will call into the show, but you are in fact a member, so you should have access to the Discord, because I'd love to have a conversation with you face to face. I've been hearing that I can't deal with Jaffe because he's not a yes man, and that's the conflict.
That's stupid.
And, no one seems to mentioning the whole complete destruction of character that was done on his show around Brantley with multiple slanderous things. The guy said that all these clips to back up his wildest slanderous claims were on Rewind, which would mean if they were true and they were on Rewind, David Jaffe, Bunny, and Tech would already know about them. Everyone here would know about them, but they played stupid like they might still.
Complete destruction of character. Now, as I said before, that ultimately Keem had to protect Brantley. It's I was watching somebody else covering this stuff, and they made a good point that Brantley is not really involved in the LCU. She's not really always the face of the LCU, right? She's completely outside the LCU a lot of the time. And in a way, Brantley is a pot shot, a lucky shot, right? As a way to, you can say, take down Keemstar, because he will go in a very defensive mode. He will go very defensive to basically even scorch earth. We've seen this already, right? We've seen what and how in every way he'll do it. And you can't really blame him, right? You can't even blame the anger in his voice, the just tired of everybody's crap about it. And obviously, I will criticize him, because let's be fair, other women who are not part of the LCU, right? They got dragged in, right? Kelly, for instance, a good example of somebody getting dragged in when she clearly doesn't want to. But at the end of the day, right? He owns the LCU. He is the head of the LCU. It's his, again, in his own way, his right to protect his women, and What are you going to do? And there's not really much you can do in the end of the day about that. But at the same time, we'll have to see, I guess, what's going to come out of this, with big change Oh God, it's such a crazy time.
Is to have Boogie interact with her spirit.
Oh shit! I know how to honor my mom today. Okay, I'm gonna be gone 5 minutes. Hold it down, okay? I know how to honor my mom today. Oh my God, I can't believe I hadn't thought of this.
He worries me when he says shit like this, to be honest.
I do want to say, for context, my mom was a very Catholic religious person who probably wouldn't want to be.
Well, if you don't think she would want to be, then don't do it.
Yeah, she probably would. But Jaffe was like, "Oh, bring your mom's ashes to the haunted house thing. We'll smoke a bowl with her in it." And I was like, "No, that's fine.
I'm gonna not. Let's just not." Yeah.
That's a little much.
Funny, but no.
So my thing is why don't you have a conversation with Ken about it?
I've tried. If you read the Discord
I've
response,
read some of the messages too. Like you'll see Tick being like, "I 100% respect what you do. Like, thank you for everything." You know.
Wait a minute.
And it just carries on.
Here's the problem with text, though. There's no body language. There's no nuance on how you're saying something. You know what I'm saying? Why don't you have like a conversation like this with him?
We tried to do it on Cafe on Friday, or was it Saturday? No, it was Saturday. Yesterday, I joined Cafe. I'm talking to him. He's asking me about Jaffe's take. I'm like, look, I understand Jaffe's opinion because he hates him. He's not a fan of what America's doing right now, right? But I love veterans. When I was doing my consulting thing and I was making good money, a lot of my money donations would go to like veterans issues, right? Huge supporter of our veterans in the country. I love them. I wanted to be a Marine when I was in high school. I did 2 years of like the recruitment process. I had my knee torn out, so I went to Department of Homeland Security instead, right? They were like, you're not fit enough to be a Marine, but if you want to watch our borders and shit, I guess. So I did that in my life. So I respect him. I went through PTSD therapy. I imagine he also went through PTSD therapy. If you read the messages in the Discord, they're all like, look, you're cared for. You're respecting this community. I commend you for being able to entertain an audience when you're dealing with all this shit. And he's just like, oh yeah, nice turning this around on me. All right, I see how it's going. He just doesn't care.
I will say, as a woman married to a Marine veteran, all right, I will say I understand what Jaffe's saying because look geographically where most of the recruiting offices are. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Okay. There's a big reason why like the state of Michigan is a huge like factory into a lot of military going in there. I understand what Jaffe is saying. Maybe it was the way he said it. I don't know. I don't know. It seems like there's a conversation needed
because I always be the way Jaffe says it, right? Like every time there's an issue, it's always how he said it. Every single time. Like maybe he starts saying the shit intentionally. Okay, maybe.
Well, I mean, listen, I made up with him, but it's also the thing of, well, if I was just told. Really?
Well, you made up with him because you were about to get him fired, right? So.
No, I wouldn't do that. I don't want him fired.
Sorry. Does that?
Because think about it. Wait a minute. Wait, think about it. Why would I want him fired? Because I love Bunny. Bunny's also on that show.
Maybe you thought Bunny would take over.
No, not at all. Madhouse isn't Madhouse without Jaffe.
Yeah.
I mean, that's what made it Madhouse.
I know. It's a joke. I'm just kidding.
You suck at them. That's why Boogie's the funny man.
I don't know.
Bingo.
I thought it was pretty funny.
Your blonde hair is pretty funny.
Someone told me that Russell looks like a hamster, and I can't unsee it. It's just every day he's more hamster-like.
God damn it.
I have something. Listen, our 24-hour stream coming up, hopefully next weekend. Our 24-hour stream coming up. He has to babysit me for my 8 hours. Aww. And I have something specific just for him, and it's going to be hilarious.
Am I going to find it funny? Oh, no.
You might.
Torture.
You might find it funny.
Torture Rostov.
So, but no, I mean,
Nightmare jumped in waiting before
saying,
to roast Boogie, and he just posted what his roast was.
Why'd you drag him in? Get in.
No, he left. He has to set up his thing. He said, "Damn, it's so cool that Boogie and Rostov get to basically celebrate Halloween twice a year. There's your roast." Damn,
oh,
that's actually that's not bad. That's not bad. I find that funny.
Good. Not good either.
I like it.
Is your mom alive, Xylee?
Yes.
Yeah, did you say Happy Mother's Day?
I'm getting ready to cook dinner. My mom was sleeping when I went and called her, but I'm going to cook dinner and then I'm going to her house and wish her Happy Mother's Day.
Moms are always sleeping. They never wake up.
Yeah.
I'm leaving. My mother's calling.
Now, after all of that beginning part, they did have an audition later on, and I'll be real with you, I'm not gonna cover it. They had an audition and they did a tier list. That's really what. And then after that, it was just a random amount of bullshit that didn't really matter, right? You can say that these two streamed. I know Nerds was in parallel. I forgot to mention. When Billy was on, Nerd Live went on, so that happened in parallel. And so as the live was going on, eventually Rewind went back to streaming, and they were in parallel with them. Forgot to mention that. I forgot to mention a little bit ago that there was some beef between Jaffrey and Ken about the military. I think we may see something out of it. We may see that technically it's Monday, which is again, this video is gonna be uploaded Monday. This is again, and I'm recording it Sunday. Well, actually, I'm recording it at 12:46 in the morning. And this whole thing about the military, like, you got to understand, that Kenneth the Proud Man, he's a Southern Proud Man, rooted in Eastern Orthodoxy, and they are very proud people. That really, particularly with that denomination, with I know a little bit, they are very prideful. I want to say prideful, but very proud of their religion and so on. And I know Ken mentioned that he is Greek. If you've never dealt with a Greek or Mediterranean or even a Latin person, you'll have to understand they are very stubborn and they won't back down. This is how they are. And I think Tech Protect may not know that, and I think Jaffrey doesn't care. I think Jaffrey Jaffrey is a very progressive, left-leaning guy. His own words, not mine. And obviously he's going to go with the current stuff that's going on, especially with the military. So, and he's I'm going to say it very carefully. He's of a certain tribe of people, and that's enough I'm going to say. Because, it is what it is about that. And you can kind of tell that there's a clear fighting between Ken and Jaffrey and Tech Protect. And I think, Tech Protect is trying to be generous or neutral. But then again, like, until they have a proper face-to-face conversation about this, it probably won't be resolved. Obviously, everybody has their own opinion of the military. I think what it was Jaffrey was trying to get a strike, a poke on good old Kenny. And it just happened. Jaffrey said that, like, well, why join the military if you're not going to do it for money? And it's like, it's kind of not why most people join the military. I mean, you can't lie nowadays. The military doesn't push people. I mean, the military has a tendency nowadays to kind of have people join them for money. But you also have to remember that a lot of the time, militaries in the past were very different, especially industrial militaries are very different than, like, let's say medieval or even like Roman or whatever period. So there's also that to think about, and that's not really something I will talk about more because that's not really my specialty. But if it's get brought up and it becomes its own little drama, I'll talk about it. Oh boy.
I'm not gonna be on the main show for like an hour, so it doesn't look like I'm leaving the main show to go do our show.
Oh my God! Fuck off! Fuck off!
I know you had AMAC and Batgirl, so I was like, you'll be fine without me for a little while.
Fuck off!
And I just stayed. I stayed for like an hour, and then
Did
Rastov.
you have fun with Boogie?
Yeah, I hung out with my buddies, but Rastov made a joke about me sweeping, so I left.
Oh, sweeping about
What'd he
what?
say?
What were you sweeping?
He said Keemstar sent Boogie on an errand to go buy a broom, and Rostov said, "Why Boogie? Billy's the one that sweeps." And I said, I left. I came over here.
Do you want me to go cuss him out?
No, they're doing their stuff. They're doing
I guess you could say you swept away from LolcowLive.
Well, Boogie had a shit fit that you went live.
They were set to go live a whole hour later than they did.
I know.
I was only gonna do like I was gonna go like an hour, maybe an hour and a half, and then kick the stream off to them or stop before. I was only gonna go like an hour. I did go an hour.
Yeah,
I was gonna lead the stream directly into their stream, but then they
Which makes
started
sense.
early. Then they because when I started the stream, I was like, they're not gonna be live till 1:30 my time, anyways. I started at noon. I was like, this is gonna be perfect. Here's the thing. If I wanted to run head to head with them, I would have, but I didn't even want to.
You're like, it's not worth it.
It wasn't my intention. All I wanted to do was get on, talk to the audience about the new current events, because I actually care about those things. I know you don't care about that shit.
Billy is a man of the people.
I know it ain't your particular topic of discussion.
Yeah.
Fuck it, I'm gonna hop on and talk about what happened.
Hell yeah.
Because I wanted to talk about it, and I got it out of my system, talked about it, and
It was good.
and then I hear Boogie, some shows are live right now. I'm like, yeah, well, you fucking started an hour before you planned to.
And also, it's the weekend.
Yeah, it's the freaking weekend, baby. I'm gonna have me some fun.
True.
How are we
Shove this
doing?
monster can up my ass. Just kidding.
Whoa.
Are you though?
Hey, I just said just kidding. I don't know if we could do like a monster enema. I don't know. I've heard of coffee enemas before, but
I
Yeah.
wouldn't suggest that. Yeah, me either.
I'll be really awake then.
I was planning on doing coffee enemas at Fat Camp, but
Why didn't you?
I watched a Netflix show called Apple Cider Vinegar right
Mhm.
before Fat Camp, and
I
it was
hate
about
apple
a
cider
woman.
vinegar.
It's about a woman who forced her and her mom to do coffee enemas, and she ended up like dying.
She forced her to do it.
Yeah, it was like there's a scene where she's like, "Come on," because like, her mom and her had cancer, and she's like pinning her mom down and making her do coffee enemas, like, based on a real story.
Oh,
God damn.
fuck.
Her
You
mom's like,
will
"I'm
use this
sick."
enema.
Yeah, she's like, "No, mom, you don't need to go to a doctor.
This
Bend
will cure
over."
you. Yeah, bend over, this will cure
Yeah.
you.
And I'm like, maybe I don't want to do this.
No.
I was like, who's gonna administer it? Boogie? Do I trust him to give me a mocha chai latte up my bunghole?
I wouldn't trust him particularly.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust Roxy to do it.
No, she's not qualified for that
Forget
that procedure.
I would trust Xylee to do it, but she'd only do it with Diet Mountain Dew.
I wouldn't do it in the first place.
Yeah.
I was like,
And we finally made it to the end. So it's currently probably when it completely is uploaded and whatever, lolcowlive will probably finish their stream, test what happened. If anything happens in test, I'll cover it, but I don't think much is going to happen. Bar from that, really, yeah, rewind. I caught the last couple minutes of rewind, and you can kind of tell that Xylee was not happy, right? I feel like this was meant to be a longer stream, them getting plastered and whatever reasons, Billy killed the mood, killed the vibe, as they would say. And it just ended like that. And you can kind of tell that maybe in a way Xylee is sick of Billy, because you could kind of tell that either A, this was meant to be just a girl night type of deal, or Billy was supposed to come in earlier and then leave, but I guess that's not the case, and here we are now, and you can just tell Xylee's sick of it. Hopefully that's enough to cover throughout most of Sunday stuff. There wasn't really much. There was nerds, but nothing was really happening on nerds. I think they were just trying to raise money to finally get the membership. And if something happens in Taz, I'll cover it. But for the most part, that's all, guys. And with that being said, till next time, have a good one, be safe, and God bless.